morning, good people. Welcome to the Fans Perspective Podcast. We got a good week this week, Chris. We got NBA Cup. The Emirates Cup has officially started. How you
Yes,
feeling this week,
sir.
man?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
Good.
Hanging in there?
Hanging in there, man. A little bit under the weather, but the show does not stop. So we're gonna keep talking hoop, and yeah, bro. Let's get right into it, man. So
Excited to be here. Yep.
it's been a lot of news this week. It's been kind of quiet. We were just talking kind of before air. Not a whole lot going on. We got some injuries happening, some nicks, and that just kind of happens during this time of the year. But one of the things that has been discussed, right? We saw Chris Paul got released. They haven't officially. I don't know all the full context what they're doing with him right now. I know they're trying to figure out probably a scenario where he can go where he can finish his career off. I know he kind of mentioned he doesn't know yet, but he's just kind of working out, being with his family. Do you think the Clippers organization is selfish for making this move with Chris Paul, knowing that he's already announced, this is going to be his last year? Or do you think, from what we don't know, from an internal standpoint, that maybe Chris has some things to do, or was kind of the cause of why he got let go in this situation?
I guess two. I think it's a scenario where two things could be true
Mm,
because we don't have the full context of whatever happened, whatever conflict existed between him and the organization. From what I did hear, it sounded like he and Ty Lue weren't on the same page, and that there had
bump
been some
heads.
friction between him and Ty Lue,
Mm,
between him and Stan Van Gundy, and it sounded like maybe Chris was overstepping his boundaries and stepping on, the toes of some of the coaching staff. And so I can imagine as someone in that coaching staff seat, how uncomfortable that could be, especially coming from Chris Paul
mhm.
because he is such a veteran and he is so knowledgeable. So it's not like what he's saying and suggesting is, untrue, right? But it does feel like
Right.
sometimes you're stepping outside of your role as a player and maybe create or gaining too much leeway from what Stan Van
Yeah.
Gundy had said. But I don't think that that justifies cutting him at 3 a.m. in the morning. This is a
No.
20-year plus vet who was a large part of building the legacy and the culture there in LA.
Hmm.
He was a part of a team that had an opportunity to win. And so to treat him
It just
that
didn't
way and
happen.
to
Yeah.
release him in that manner, yeah, I thought that was kind of unacceptable.
Yeah, and it's strange, bro. Like, and this is where I wish more front office would come to the front, and like I wish they would have done a press conference. I'm not saying you're gonna spend this whole press conference only
Yep.
talking about Chris, but when you have situations like that, there should be a press conference to where you start to address things that's going on with the team. And I get there are certain things you can't say, you can't release because sometimes giving out too information can cause, the wrong things to not be
Greater
able to
backlash,
transpire.
right?
Yep. Or when it comes to trades, now teams have a one up on you. But if I'm speaking from a fan perspective, and I'm a Clippers fan, I'm hurt because I'm like, man, this is the last time I'm going to be able to see Chris Paul. And Chris Paul is a
Mm,
first ballot Hall of Famer. And so now you're sitting there
without
telling
doubt.
me that I may have purchased tickets to go see Chris play. I probably made plans to go watch this man play. And I want to see him go out on a good note. And it just kind of sucks where we've seen some of these farewell tours not be what people have wanted them to
Right.
be. And Kobe, man, Kobe kind of he messed this up for everybody because he got that tour
Yeah.
and now but the thing is, bro, we have a lot of greats. Like we have Hall of Famers that are playing currently in the NBA. Like currently, like LeBron James, first ballot. Like he could probably be in the Hall of Fame right now.
VP,
Kevin
first
Durant,
ballot. Yep.
Steph Curry,
Steph,
CP.
first ballot.
You
Yep.
can put them in right now. Russ, James Harden, you could put them in right now as they're currently playing. And so from that fan perspective, bro, like that would be kind of hurtful for me to kind of see that happening. But also, we all know Chris Paul is a very, very smart player. And there's
Hmm.
been things that we've heard about how he can be in the locker room. Now, on one end, is it like, do you just ride this thing to where it's like, you know what, hey, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Gonna make sure I can go on a good note. Or is it just, hey, I'm still gonna be this competitor. I still want to try to win. I'm still gonna talk. And I think that's where, to your point, it gets sticky. I'm the 10th man on the eighth, ninth, tenth on the roster. So how much do I really need to be
Mm.
saying? And I don't feel like they got a bunch of young guys over there to where he can kind of like mentor and grab on. And okay, here's a young point guard. Here's a Shea that I can talk to and get him prepared. And if you so you're losing, you're bumping heads with someone who's not a starter anymore, as a coach, as an organization, whoever that may be. So from that perspective, I'm pretty sure Clippers and Ty Lue, they don't want to hear like we losing. I don't want to hear what you're talking about. Um,
And I guess that's what made it kind of confusing
so
because
it's
you're right.
weird
They have a primarily veteran-led roster. So I would have thought that it would be easier
to just
to
keep
have
him.
strategic conversations. Yeah, because and
Mm.
all of you have been here before. James, you've been in the league for a while now.
Every last one
Kawhi,
of
you've been in
y'all.
the league for a while now. All of you guys have been around for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
I thought, speaking from Chris Paul's perspective, I'm sure he thought that he at least had enough cachet with other veterans that you can have really confrontational conversations and it still manifests in something
And they're
positive
still okay.
on the
Yeah.
floor. But I don't know. We're also in a time now where you have to be a lot more sensitive
Yeah.
with what you say and how you say it.
And I hope that they can all maybe one day come to the front and kind of say what happened. I don't want to see Chris Paul go out the way where it's just he just fades away and then no one remembers who he was. Um, but also I thought because they're losing, that should have made it easier to keep him. Like, what are you going to gain from letting Chris Paul go? Unless it just got that bad between Ty Lue and
Right.
Chris and that organization that's like, you know what? Like, we can't allow. We've already lost a season. The season's probably already wrapping. They're probably already thinking trades. Trades with getting Kawhi gone, maybe James Harden. They're probably ready to blow that team up. So if that is the only way that I can think is the reason why they let him go is like, hey, we're ready to blow this whole team up anyway. And Chris is being a detriment to what we may want to try to get here in the future.
Now
Let's
that's a
let
great
him
point.
go, figure it out. So that would be the only thing that I can think of as to be the reason why. I just wish the front office would be able to come out, have a press conference to say some of these things because you know they're going to ask the players all the time, like, "Hey, what happened? Why did this go down? Why did this?" When in all reality, the front office has the control of all these things happening. So that
Yeah.
can make
I
it tricky.
mean, the decision may have been right, but the way they handled it, I still thought was unprofessional.
Yeah. So kind of speaking of the Clippers, man, we also was able to have a conversation. We've been talking about Shea, bro. We've been talking about the Thunder, what they're doing, and Shea is being Mr. Consistent.
Yep.
I don't know. 'Cause I heard him call himself like Mr. Consistent in an interview like last year or something like that. That may need to be his nickname, like official nickname, Mr.
I
Consistent,
like that.
because that's who we've been,
That's who
bro.
he is.
But looking back, because we all it is very easy in general to look back in hindsight and say, "Oh yeah, this looks good now. Or you should have did this. You should have did that." Looking back, do you think it is that the trade that the Clippers made to acquire Paul George for right getting rid of Shea? Um, do you think the Clippers made a bad move, or do you think it was the right move at that time to get PG?
Like you said, hindsight is 2020. Now
Hmm.
that we've had opportunity to see what those picks and what Shea has kind of, manifested into. At the time, I don't think it was a terrible idea, right?
Agreed.
Because as we previously discussed, PG was coming off an MVP caliber season. I think he was top five in MVP voting that year that he got traded.
Hmm.
And you were bringing him back home to eventually pair with Kawhi Leonard, who
Hmm.
had just won a championship in Toronto. And so naturally, it seemed like an ideal pairing. You got two long, versatile wing defenders who are capable of being, 1A, 1B on the offensive end,
Yeah,
and they get to be back home. It made sense at
it
the
made
time.
sense. It made sense.
I don't think that the Clippers could have anticipated how valuable those picks would have been, though, or that Shea
No.
was going to end up becoming what he is now.
Mm. Yeah,
I
because
mean, they gave
I didn't
up.
see this with Shea. I don't know if you did. I didn't get to catch Shea a whole bunch in Kentucky. It's been weird. A lot of Kentucky guards, like Devin Booker, came off the bench. I think Shea came off the bench for a bit.
Yep.
Like they've always had these guards that just figure it out. Like we
Yep.
already know they come in, they're talented, but so I didn't see this from Shea, and so everyone is just saying, "Oh yeah, Clippers are terrible for that trade." I'm like, bro, Paul George was hooping that year that they traded for Shea. But I think the elephant in the room, and to me, the caveat of that whole trade was Kawhi. Kawhi has just not been
Right.
healthy. And I
Right.
think it could have worked because Paul George at this time too, he's accepting being a number two player. He's like, you know what, I'll be the number two guy. Doesn't matter.
Because he was secondary to Russ. Right.
So he didn't care at that point. He got out of Indiana and it was just like, you know what, I just want to be able to put this ball in the hoop, play defense, right? But just I don't think he wanted to blame anymore, which I hated that for Paul George because I ultimately think he has 1A talent. He's not a 1B player. His mentality is a secondary player.
Right.
Talent screams you can be KD, you can be LeBron. Like we saw you go toe to toe with LeBron for those years in the Eastern Conference. So,
Yep.
but that's neither here or there. But yeah, I do think Clippers made a good trade. Now, would I let all those picks go? Maybe not, but you probably had to because you acquired a MVP caliber player in Paul George.
It was
Like,
it was commensurate to what you were receiving. Or, I mean, what you were giving away.
and it's almost like that's like the going price for players like that. Like, and I know we'll get to it later today, but Giannis is not going away for just for some pennies. He's going to go at a asking price,
Yeah,
and
it's
there's
gonna cost
not
you a
that
bit of
many
your future.
teams, and there's not many of those teams who have that. It's going to cost you some players, and you're going to have to probably sign some players in the free agency for minimum
Yep.
deals because you're going to have to get rid of some of those contracts and players that maybe have expiring contracts before the year is up to where they can dump and then rebuild around that player that you just
Yep.
acquired. But I'm even looking at the trade with again with Shea. But the Clippers receive, of course, Paul George. But Thunder
Right.
got Shea, Gallinari. They got Miami's Heat 2021 pick, which that turned into
Yep.
Trey Man. They got Clippers pick 2022, which turned into Jalen Williams, which we know
J
who he
Will.
is now. They had a 2023 pick with the Clippers. That was a swap. They didn't keep that. 2024 unprotected first rounder. 2025 Heat.
That was a protected.
Uh, yep. And then it's going to be unprotected for 2026. So they should have Heat's picks now for this year. And then a right to swap with the Clippers last year. Don't think they did. And then this year, which is what everyone's talking about now, they have the Clippers 2026 unprotected
That
first
unprotected.
round. So the Clippers have the
He cooked.
opportunity to do a huge favor for the Thunder and give them a top five pick potentially.
Sam
And
cooked
knowing
though.
how and bruh, knowing how the NBA works, if Thunder can win this year and the NBA's like, you know what? We need to build a dynasty. Let's keep this thing rolling. Give them a number one pick. Give them a number one pick,
He cooked with them picks though. I wouldn't have felt
bruh.
comfortable giving up that much draft capital. I understand, obviously, letting Shea go at the time. I understand Gallinari letting him go, and even a
Mm.
portion of these picks, particularly the
Mm.
swaps, because you don't know exactly what those are going to end up being. But I mean, he gave away one, two, three, four, five, six, seven picks and two starters.
Yeah, bro. And but they
That
they
is so
were
crazy.
and I'm trying to take my mind back to that time, bro, of what Paul George was doing. And Paul George was incredible. But my concern, which is what it's always been about Paul George, is not his style of play, but the personality.
Yep.
Like for him to idolize Kobe, I never feel like he had that Mamba mentality as again what his play speaks to. And I'm one of the biggest Paul George fans again from Indy, right? And
Yep.
I was rooting for the Pacers all them years, like against Miami. So people were cheering
They had great
for.
teams.
They had a great team, man. I still wish Jackson and them didn't get in that fight because I do think we would have won that year because it was us in Detroit kind of going head to head.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But no, man, Paul George he was that guy, but I was always concerned with him because of just the mentality. I never thought that after he left Indiana, it was just I just want to play. It was a lot of he just seemed to not take accountability anymore. And I'm like, he's too good of a player for that. So that was my only concern about Paul George at that time.
And I wonder how much of that was a result to all of the nagging injuries he continued to keep dealing with. I mean, obviously, he had that really gruesome injury in USA
USA.
basketball, and he has talked about how that kind of changed his psyche a little bit. It's hard
Hmm.
to remain confident and to trust your body when you've gone through something so traumatic. So I've
Yeah.
always wondered for guys like him if constantly battling injuries, constantly trying to, fight through physical therapy and get your mind back right. If that too also affects the mental and emotional fortitude that you need to still be a 1A guy.
Yeah. And I believe it's that.
But
I
we,
believe it probably was that because I was
you know
thinking
what I
we saw
mean?
that
But
with
we've seen
Clay.
other guys get through it.
Mm.
Yep, Clay is a great example. But I mean, I guess on the contrast, you see somebody like Steph Curry who kind of figured it out. Early in his career, he dealt with
KD.
those ankle injuries. KD's another one, So I don't know, but it is unfortunate to see what Paul George has become versus what he
Mm.
was.
But do you think it's unfair for us? And I'll speak for me, and you can tell me your thoughts too. Is it unfair for me to look at Paul George as a talent in the same light as like a KD? That's how I saw Paul George at that time.
No, I don't think that you're off base by saying that. Paul George is an
Mm.
all-world talent
Yeah,
for sure. Again, I think all his issues exist in between the ears.
yeah,
You
and
know,
that sucks.
it does. It does. Because who wouldn't give to be 6'9" with his level of versatility and athleticism, especially when he was healthy? Oh my God. Yeah, Paul George was different.
He's the prototype to me. Who he is, he's a prototype NBA player. He's who
Yep.
the Thunder saw in Jalen Williams and what everyone wants to mimic now. You want wings like him. You want a Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson's hooping right now. You want a Jason Tatum, a Jalen Brown.
Yep.
To me, like Paul George is from that mode of Scottie Pippen, but just a little bit evolved into a different type of scorer and defender. But to me,
Totally
him,
agree.
Scottie Pippen, like that's that mode. You need players like that on your roster to compete for championships,
Yep.
especially in today's game. You need those type of wings. So, um, yeah, man, I think it has been a crazy ride to hear about that trade and see what it's turned into. I saw Instagram people were making jokes about it was all fun and games when they were trading for seventh graders, but now, right, Thunder's
That
NBA
seventh
champs,
grader is Jay Will and Chet Holmgren. Yeah.
and now they NBA champs, and it looks like they're about to do the same thing again.
Repeat.
Without hopefully they don't have any injuries and things of that nature. So, um, but to kind of stay on the Clippers, something else that I've been seeing a lot, and I hate to kind of talk about him in this light because he still deserves a lot of respect.
Hmm.
Um, but Stephen A. Smith had made, to me, I don't like the way he kind of phrased it, but talking about Kawhi being the worst superstar.
Hmm.
And to be truthful with you, when him saying Kawhi being the worst superstar, I never saw him as a superstar as like, I'm going to hold him to this certain standard as we do everyone else. And it's only because
Hmm.
Kawhi's never been in the spotlight. Um, Personally, I never thought he played enough to where it was warranted to call him that. He has a superstar talent for sure. I've never questioned his talent or who he is.
Right.
Everyone knows Kawhi's a bucket. He's efficient. We know who he is from that perspective. But if you look at it, in San Antonio, he got that ring. He wasn't the number one guy. Played well. Not trying to take away from his ring in Toronto, right? Because injuries happen. It's part of the game. But I feel like when he got that ring in Toronto, there was too much emphasis placed on Kawhi's this, he's number one, he's this, he's that. And honestly, I still didn't think he was that number one guy,
Hmm.
even after winning in Toronto. Like he did an incredible job getting there, getting them there.
Right.
So I'm not going to take that from him. But I still didn't see him in that light as I want Kawhi to lead my team to be a championship contending team. I just don't. Do you think it is fair for Stephen A to call him the word superstar, or do you kind of see him as I have and say, you know what? No, he's a superstar talent, but I don't look at him as like a LeBron or a
Hmm.
KD or a Steph. Talent wise, yes, but just kind of overall, no.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree more with you. In the sense that, yeah, I think his talent equates to being a superstar level player,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't, and maybe it's because he's always been so quiet and so reserved that it's hard to gauge what level of commitment Kawhi has to an
Mm-hmm.
organization, and that may be unfair because
That's what I
it's
was going to ask. Is
obviously
it
much
fair?
easier, and it may be a lot easier to evaluate for players who are much more, vocal and demonstrative about what they mean and what the organization means to them, like in Anthony
Yeah,
Edwards, right? I wouldn't question his commitment to Minnesota, but because you don't ever really get to hear from Kawhi, it's so easy to create any narrative about him because he never contributes to any of those narratives.
yeah,
And so for a long time, it's been hard to even know how committed Kawhi was. And then he had the situation in San Antonio, which led to him going to
yeah,
Toronto, where he went back and forth with the organization about how they were supposed to, therapize his injury and how they were supposed to provide him support. And so, and then to now follow up with the investigation in LA with him and Uncle Dennis and getting the side payment. I don't know how committed he is to the mission of winning.
yeah.
And so
It's hard. It's
that
hard to
to
gauge. It's
me,
hard to gauge, bro.
yeah, that alone makes him a really difficult superstar. That alone. At least with
Man,
Jokic, as much as I know he desires to be with his horses,
and to not
when
be here at all.
as much as I know that, the 82 games that he's responsible for showing up and participating in being productive in, he does that.
Yeah.
Right. And with Kawhi, you don't get that from him.
No,
In
we
addition
don't.
to the injuries.
And I didn't even want to pull up because I had it before, just like all the games that he's played and what he hasn't played since he's been in a Clippers uniform. But the ratio is horrible, and this sucks because you know what type of player he is, but it's just hard to say like this person who's making this much money on my team who's supposed to be number one. I think I heard Tyrone Lue kind of alluded to that early in the season, like my number one guy who's making 60 million and my number two is a person who's making 200K at this point in time is my number one player because he's hurt. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Mm,
Um, and yeah, it's like it sucks. Because I think fans, bro, we want to see Kawhi be that guy because that's where his value is. He's getting paid as the number one guy.
right.
He's been viewed as the number one guy, right? He's won two rings. He's not like somebody who's just out here playing, who's getting numbers, and that's it. No, you've won championships and you've led a team to a championship. So to us, that is expectation, and I don't know, but I think that kind of leads to another conversation that we were going to have, bro, about contracts, players who have been injured,
Yep.
such as him, Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson. Do you think we'll see teams continue to pay guys like that who can't stay on the floor? Joel Embiid is also one person. Do you think we'll continue to see guys get those max contracts based off of what they did, regardless of their injury history?
No. No, I would anticipate in the forthcoming CBA that they're going to, you know, reconfigure it in a way that will give teams a little bit more leverage to
Mm-hmm.
withhold max and super max contracts until guys have proven a certain level of durability and reliable durability. Whatever Miami's doing, whatever they do in terms of conditioning and strength training, feels like it should be a standard across the league because I rarely hear about their guys having season-ending injuries
Mm-hmm.
or nagging and or chronic injuries and issues.
That's a
And
good
I think
call
it's
out.
because they hold their players to such a conditioning standard before the season starts that creates this responsibility and onus that the players have to managing
Mm-hmm.
their own recovery. And that's what a lot of guys aren't doing. I don't think a guy like Joel Embiid takes a whole lot of responsibility in his own recovery. Same with
Yeah.
Zion Williamson. Same with Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you all are just, that endurable, then now we have to have a different conversation about what your value
Again, how you
truly
get?
is, because
Yep. How you get paid?
you and I are both former athletes.
Mm-hmm.
The one constant in all athletics is that the best ability is
His
availability.
availability. Yeah.
And if you're not available, you cannot give me anything. And
At
so
all.
I think I would imagine that that a lot of teams are going to take a more conservative stance on how they distribute some of these max and supermax contracts, because you don't want to just keep wasting money on guys who are never going to be available to play.
It's almost bad for the league, and it is something about we're not. Let's be clear, we're not saying that these players shouldn't be paid. I'm all for the players
Right.
getting everything that they deserve. But if I'm a GM, like they take their own risk. Now, personally, if I'm looking at a guy like Paul George, I wouldn't have paid him all that max money that they paid him this past summer. To me, it didn't make sense.
You talk about in Philly.
Um, yeah, in Philly. It was
Right.
almost like you were shooting for the fence, but he's in his later years of his career, and you know he's had injuries. It's the same reservations that I know Warriors had about Clay, which it sucks, and I
They sure
think
did.
that is probably why Bob Myers got out of Golden. He was like, "Bro, I got too many tough decisions that I got to make, and like not understand. Like these are decisions that I do not want to make, but I'm gonna have to make them because it makes the most sense from a business perspective."
Correct.
And they probably already saw the writing on the wall with Clay. I think we all saw with Paul George, and we all were like, "They paid Paul George how much? Like for how many years?" And now you're stuck with that contract with Paul George, and you have this young talent in Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, and now you still have those heavy contracts in Joel Embiid and Paul George. And now how does that handicap that team for how many years? And what we could be seeing with that team, the potential that they could have if they have the cap space to navigate, they could be a team like the Thunder if they had the cap space.
They could be. Yep.
So to your
But
point,
you're so
like,
tied up. Yeah.
yeah, maybe they do something in the CBA, or maybe it's just the front office saying, you know what? We just have to put our foot down as far as like paying these guys based on either what they've done in the past or potential because it's hard to see. But I don't know, that's tricky, man. I think that is a tough decision as any front office because we're watching a guy like Jalen Johnson as well, who looks underpaid in Atlanta. Like
Because
I think
is
he was
he?
1 5 year 130,
Yep.
or maybe something around that. Thank God Austin Reeves held out because he would also look very, very underpaid right
He's another
now.
one.
So it's tricky. Like I don't know, man. Would you keep Zion on your roster?
No.
Zion's
Because
another
again,
one.
for you to be as young as you are and be dealing with, you know, the myriad of injuries that he's had to deal with, it doesn't make
Hmm.
me feel any more confident that you're going to be durable any deeper into the future. You're only getting older. You're only
That's
experiencing
fair.
more wear and tear.
Yeah,
And I'm supposed to expect by 30, your body's going to be in better shape. For me to give you a 5 year, $300 million contract? No, no.
and
And
I
and
think
I
he has
think
a
this
clause in his contract with about some of that stuff.
and he should, because you clearly have showcased you aren't responsible enough to take care of your body on your own. So now, yes, I have to incentivize you and I have to protect myself. And so, yeah, I do think that we're going to start seeing a lot of injury insurances instituted
Yeah.
in those contracts. And not to go completely off topic, but I also think that this indirectly correlates to the
Hmm.
fight that the WNBA players are having in their CBA negotiations. This is
Yep.
exactly why those women are asking for the revenue split that the
Hmm.
NBA has. Because you look over here to the NBA and there's a bunch of guys sitting on the bench for 40 to 60 days making a
That's fair,
guarantee
bro.
of $20 million plus. And you got
Hmm.
women over here like Asia Wilson, who's 4-time MVPs, and she only getting 250. And I'm
That
talking
doesn't
about
make it. Yeah.
250,000.
Hmm.
Make it make sense.
And
So
that's a fair point, bro. And that's a fair crossover because, like, players get. I'm like, even what do you do with the fine money? Like, can we not put the NBA fine money into the W
that's a great
share?
way to redirect some of that investment.
But I don't know where the money goes, so we may have to look that up and kind of get some information on that. But no, like, bro, that is such a great point you just mentioned. Like, with these players that are sitting down, that does, even as a fan, bro, that feels like a slap in the face that I have to hear that
Absolutely.
Zion
Yep.
Williamson's contract, where we know you all practice like 2 hours a day, you have the rest of the day to yourself, and you can't be on the court, and you have a clause in your contract that says you have to be underweight. Like, why do I have to tell you to
Take care of your
like,
body.
and you
Meanwhile,
make millions of dollars, but that's a slap in the face.
come on. But we as fans got to get our asses up every day and go to work
Like that.
for significantly
That is the
less.
Bro, that is the only part for me where I do have a problem with some of the money that players make is when you do that. I get you're an entertainer and we pay to come watch you play and we watch you to come play at the highest level. And so yes, it is frustrating when the best player on the team who makes the most money is never available and all we see you is in different allegations with these women or we just see you not in shape. We don't see you play hard, and you just don't seem engaged even when you're on the bench. Like that, that is a bad feeling, and that's what I hate that we isolate scenarios like that. But it's hard to, but you have to point it out because you are a young superstar. You are next up. We didn't see a lot of this
Right.
with our generation of hoopers. We didn't see this with
Right.
Kobe. We didn't see this with KD. We didn't see this with Ray Allen. We didn't see that with Paul Pierce, AI. We didn't see it with those guys. And so, yes, it does make me nervous of like, are these new young guys going to hoop? Is Ja going to get ready? Is he going to be able to play? And so now it's like we have too many good young stars to see them do that, right? And so hopefully we can kind of block that noise out. NBA takes care of that to where we can focus on the JTs, the Ks, the Anthony Edwards, these young superstars. Man, they got to figure that out because, yeah, to your point, the best. What is it? The best
The best ability is
ability
availability.
is availability, man. Like we need guys to be
But
there, and those contracts ain't gonna write themselves.
but you know what though? And I think that we do need to have kind of this rant real quick because this
Mm,
also ties back to why veteran leadership is so important. Now, you and I
yes.
spoke to
Mm,
a few episodes ago about the fact that DeAndre Jordan had been taking on the responsibility of being the veteran presence for Derek Queen.
yeah.
And since that has been, you know,
Well, you
publicly
see him last
known,
night?
so
He on
we
the
don't sit
way.
there and act like
Mhm.
that level of mentorship doesn't
Mm,
correlate to performance. His confidence has
easily
changed. His awareness on the floor has changed. His
skyrocketed.
commitment to every possession and what he's responsible for doing, possession by possession, has
Mm,
changed. And a lot of that speaks to the leadership, the veteran leadership that he's receiving in the locker room.
mm.
But a lot of teams don't have that now because everybody's over invested in the potential
Potential.
some 17, 18, 19-year-old has that typically doesn't actualize until they're 25, 26. And we're screaming then, now you need to be a veteran for some other 17, 18, 19-year-old that we also have
Yeah.
done this to.
Hmm.
But back in the 90s and the 2000s, because it was a men's league at the time, when you came in at 20, 21, which you also were coming into a lead a little bit older, you were also a little bit more mature. You were a young man at that
Yeah.
time. You had older men who were telling you, hey, man, you are going to develop a routine. You are
Yeah.
going to have a schedule. You are going to commit to doing things in recovery
Mm,
post practice when you get home or before you come into the facility.
yeah.
But the lack of that presence now has led to this, or it's one of the things that's led to this.
Yeah. Bro, you didn't say anything wrong. Like I've heard Jeff T talk about his vets. We hear all these older NBA
Yep.
players. Lou Williams talked about his veterans. He had AI,
Yep.
Matt Barnes. Um, and you just need it. I don't know if everyone's looking at Thunder because they're young, thinking that you can mimic and emulate that. But it's the same thing, bro, we talked about with how teams try to mirror or mimic someone else's. playing style when you don't have the personnel to do it.
It's
Those guys
copycat
in
league.
OKC, they're mature young guys,
Yep. Yep.
not the same. All of those guys also weren't highly touted guys, coming out of college.
That's an
So
excellent point too. It's a lot of chips on a lot of shoulders over there. Cats is hungry.
you see what I'm saying? Even Shea to a point, like Shea, yes, Shea
Yeah.
was a high draft pick, but no one was talking about Shea like, oh, Shea's going to be this, or that. No one, I don't think anyone,
No.
any fan, I can't say it's not a big percentage, thought Shea was going to be who he is now. Players and coaches, all the scouts, yes, they may have known because they see Shea on a day-to-day basis and they saw him early. I know I didn't. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, I knew Shea was
No.
going to be that. No, I didn't see this.
I think by and large, Shea was a project.
Yeah,
I didn't think
And
people knew
he
exactly what
morphed
he was
into
going to become.
this. No, he morphed into this. And so like to like what we're saying, but like that team is a different type of youth. And
It's anomalous.
veteran leadership is critical. It's important, and I think we need more of it because I think we're seeing bad play with teams too consistent. Like Washington Wizards, there's no way you should have been bad for this long. Utah Jazz, you've been bad for way too long. And I saw Will Hardy, and I like him as a coach a whole lot over in
Love that
Utah.
clip. Love that
Um,
clip.
like he's like I'm tired. Like just play hard. Like, but who
Why do
else
I have
does
to ask you to do that?
who else does he have on that bench that can say, hey, like I see DeAndre Jordan, like you said, often a lot, like, yo, what are we doing? And he also doesn't just correct them on the court, but like I've seen him talk to Derek Queen in the media, like, hey, stand up, like you just had a good game, like stand up and talk to the media. There's certain etiquette, as to being a pro professional that comes with being an NBA. That is because that is a business at the end of the day. Um, and I can't even tell you who's like Jazz's veteran on their team. Not by just years, but who is their vet?
Experience, presence, yeah. I
Like
I couldn't tell you either because they're another young team
just
who,
young, just young. Bunch of young
yeah,
guys.
yeah. Same
Like
with
a
New
bunch of young
Orleans.
guards. New Orleans the same
Like all of
way.
these teams.
I'm even thinking about all these teams now, and it's like, bro, these teams are probably average age is like 25, 24.
Like think about that.
And that may be a little problematic to a degree. And again, like you just can't. Someone may pick one team or two teams and say, "Oh, well, this team is young." Again, you can't rely on that because if we think about the last championship teams, you have what OKC, which they were really young. That
Hmm.
was an anomaly. Before them was what was it Golden State or
Boston.
Milwaukee? Boston, sorry, Boston, which they had some vets on their team that they mixed in with JT and Jalen, but also with them, people don't talk about, they played with vets all the way up until
These are
this point.
mature young guys. Yes.
So they're not like they're entering their prime. So it's not like they're 21, 22, 23. These guys have, and they have the experience. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's
They've
different.
been
They've
here
been in the
before.
playoffs since they've walked into the league. They've been in the playoffs. Before Boston it had to be Golden State or
Denver.
Milwaukee. Denver, I'm gonna get my years all mixed
And
up.
then,
Denver was
yep,
a veteran
Denver,
team.
Golden State,
Golden State was a veteran team. Then
and then
Milwaukee,
Milwaukee, Toronto. No,
which
LA.
was LA, which was a veteran
That was the
team.
bubble championship. Toronto, veteran
Veteran
team.
team.
And then before, and then
Then the
prior to
Golden
that, it
State
was
and
just Golden State
Cavaliers.
and Cleveland. And both of those were veteran teams.
So to think that you're just gonna just say, "Oh, we're gonna build this team full of young guys," and just, "Oh, we're gonna keep them," even if they're all good, you can't keep them for all these years, and you're not gonna be able to see
And
what
and
they
it,
can become because they're young. So they need to get reps in order to see what they can do. You're not seeing it.
yeah. And the Thunder, man, they're so anomalous. They actually, and I don't think this is an apples to apples comparison, but what's special about them is they kind of remind me of like that 90-91 Bulls team
Mm,
when Jordan won his first championship in
them.
terms of roster construction. They just have, and a lot of this speaks to Sam Presti and his ability to strategize and to plan.
Them.
They just have structured that team so well that
So
you caught
well.
guys entering their prime. You've been able to bring and add on low cost vets while still investing in young guys. Not everybody gets that luxury though. San Antonio,
Mm-mm.
similarly, had that kind of structure where you already had David Robinson, who was an all-star, all NBA guy, and then you drafted Timmy. He developed, and then you drafted Tony and Manu, and then eventually Kawhi. And like,
And the funny
but
part
not
you say
everybody
about
gets that
that,
luxury.
you know where Sam Presti started? In San Antonio.
I mean, by far the best coaching tree
Mhm.
in the NBA, by far.
It's like Nick Saban and what he's
Um,
done in the college football
yeah, it's just
landscape.
everybody that comes out of San Antonio does something special. But again, not to digress too much, the fact of the matter
Mm.
remains, you need veteran presence to win.
Yeah,
Period.
simple as that.
And that's at all levels.
Yep.
That's at all levels.
So speaking of vets, we got a vet in the league right now who is basically, I guess you can say, he's on the trading block. But Giannis Antetokounmpo has, to Wendy's point, he said Giannis already asked for a trade before the season even started.
Mm,
And I got mixed feelings, bro, about Giannis. I think from just a fan's perspective and just anyone in this world who wants to see a player like that continue to thrive, we're all looking at places to ship Giannis off and say, hey, Giannis, go to Miami. Giannis, go to New York. Giannis, go to LA. Go to Golden State. Even with all these teams being named, and it seems like New York has been like the one constant that has been brought up because you have a contract that can match some contracts and you have picks and capital. Um, but Knicks sounds like the front runner. Regardless of all of
mm.
that, in general, would you want to trade for Giannis?
I would. Oh, absolutely. I definitely would have the appetite to trade for him.
Mm.
Um, I don't. I don't know what his affinity with New York is. I don't know if he just wants to be in a larger market for his own personal reasons. If he wants to just have a greater presence off the court, I stylistically, I don't necessarily love New York for him. Um, I understand that obviously New York might be an easier trade partner, but that wasn't the place that I initially thought about him going. The first place I thought of actually was Phoenix.
Mm. Could they make it work
And
in
I'll take you
Phoenix?
through. They could make it work contractually. So,
Hmm.
I mean, you'd have to essentially just move Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. You
Okay.
move those two contracts and add a couple of picks, it
And add,
works.
you're gonna have to add a lot of picks.
You definitely got to add a lot of
Um,
picks. And again, we're all of this is just,
yeah,
you know,
hypothetical.
yeah. So, but again, going back to the conversation you and I had about how easy of a superstar Devin Booker is, I would really enjoy the pairing of those two. I think it would be a complementary pairing if he was in a place like Phoenix. I also don't necessarily love the idea of Giannis going to yet another big market.
Okay.
I think having him still somewhere that's
Mm.
either in a small market and more of a moderate market still provides a little bit of parity
Um,
um, throughout the league. And it gets exhaustive for all of the superstars to keep going to LA, New York,
mm.
Houston now. But that was one of the first teams that I thought of when I was like, wow, who could you pair Giannis with? And it would work really well stylistically.
Giannis and Book.
Devin Booker and Phoenix was the first place I thought.
How do you think that would be different from? Because I'm thinking about it now, but how do you think it will be different between that pairing versus Giannis and Dame?
Giannis and who?
With Giannis and Book, how do you think that would be different than Giannis and Dame from what they had?
I think I think Devin Booker is a little more willing of a passer and playmaker in an
Mm.
offensive half court setting than even
Yeah,
Dame was, even though Dame was kind of a point guard. I think Dame was a score first, kill first mentality dude. And because he has
yeah.
spent so many years in Portland with the ball in his hands in
What it
all
was used to.
settings, yeah, that I mean, it's
Mm.
hard to now say I'm just going to give the ball up to somebody else who also needs the ball in their hands for a significant amount of time, whereas Deep Book doesn't. You could take D-Book off the ball, and you can run him off a bunch of
Hmm.
pin
You can
downs
do
and flare
whatever. Yeah,
screens, and he could get to it that way, or he could be on the ball, facilitate, and get his in between late shot
and
clock
still be.
isolation opportunities. Um, and then you also provide Book now with another 1A guy who is an exceptional defensive presence, which I
Yep.
don't think he ever had the opportunity to have.
Mm-mm.
So that was one
No.
place.
Okay.
But there were a
I'm
few
not mad at
others.
that. I'm not mad at that.
Contractually, it could work.
Who else did you have on your list that you feel like they could make the
The other
trade for?
place, and this is kind of a 2K trade. This is just something I would love to see for the
Mm.
sake of basketball fantasy. But him in San Antonio,
That still is an option. Yeah.
you can move Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, and Jeremy Shohan
Mm.
for uh Giannis. Contractually, it would work. You obviously would have to add whatever draft capital Milwaukee would want. But I think that that does
10
give back
picks.
Milwaukee. You're right. It does still give Milwaukee some guys though that you could plug and play now.
Hmm.
So you still can compete now and start looking towards the future. But again, I'm just thinking stylistically, how do you guard a Giannis Victor pick and roll?
That may honestly be that may have to be. 'Cause I wonder how many years until Wemby has to get paid. Um, but that could work. I think you would probably also have to throw in Castle if Bucks don't like the picks that they see.
I
You
would
may
be
have
very
to also
sad.
throw in, but no, but hear me out. That is tricky because if I have Wemby, I also feel like, do I think you can win a championship if you get rid of Cavs so bring in Giannis? I do think you can win a championship, but I do think that hinders how that team moves forward unless you just say, you know what? Our two pillars are going to be Dylan Harper and Wemby because I don't think Giannis has that much prime left because he's been injured.
Right, right.
So that's do I think you can get a win now? Yeah, similar to the Lakers. And I still think what helped the Lakers get that championship with AD was because they didn't play a full season, so he was healthy.
That was huge. Which now
He
I'm
didn't
also
play the
thinking
full
for San
season
Antonio,
because
you bring in somebody like Giannis, it also provides you injury insurance for Wemby. Because
both
even
of
right
them
now,
be. Mhm.
now Giannis, granted, he's been having more injuries, I think, now in this part of his career just because of the natural wear and tear, and his usage has always been so high in Milwaukee. But if his usage isn't as high, because now he gets to be paired with potentially either Stephon Castle and Wemby or Dylan Harper and Wemby,
Maybe, yeah, maybe that helps.
and then in moments when you don't have Wemby available, I still got a Giannis and Dylan or a Giannis and Steph combo that I
Yeah,
could put out every night. Um, So that was another team that I kind of thought of, and then Detroit was the last team, just because I
Detroit,
don't know. I really want to see another superstar paired with Cade. I don't care who it is at this
same.
point.
And I don't. I think San Antonio. If I'm Milwaukee and I'm in that front office, San Antonio makes the most sense because I can have a future if I trade with San Antonio, and I can also have a now. I can sit here and say we don't got a tank, but I can figure out what this
Right.
roster, like which pieces I want to keep based on how they play. But I would definitely want Capsule in that trade. I can keep Dylan because I know Dylan is your guy, and he's fresh on this contract. Castle's this is year two for him.
Yep.
So you're a year ahead of getting ready to have to pay him. So you can keep Dylan on that contract. You keep Wemby because Wemby probably gonna get that contract extension in probably 2 years, maybe.
Yep. That's
Um,
about right.
and they may not even have to pay Wemby a lot because of his injuries, and he hasn't made those All NBA teams.
So you might get him for a steal.
So you might be able to keep Wemby for a steal. Not might, you'll be able to keep him for a steal.
And like you said, for
Um,
Milwaukee, there's a lot of attractive trade capital that San Antonio has. If you can get back Stephon, maybe Vassell and Harrison Barnes, you're looking pretty good. Maybe even if you could get them to throw
Mm.
another young guy in there,
Or still
they
take
probably won't give
Shohan,
you.
still take Jeremy, and then probably try
Okay,
to
yeah, you
get
still take
and
Shohan.
and then maybe try to get the Spurs, maybe try to get a player or a younger star, someone like that from Milwaukee, or a plug and play guy that they can still use in
That they
the
could,
Spurs
yep,
system. So Spurs to me has the most. If I'm Milwaukee and I'm Spurs, to me we can make it work.
that's what I was thinking.
We can make it work.
Contractually, it works. Both
Hmm.
teams can improve with what you're getting back. I
Yeah,
would love to see that.
because one team's in the rebuilding stage, which is will be Milwaukee. The other team is we're looking to go get it now because what's quietly happening with the Spurs right now, they're still floating in that Western Conference without Wemby right now.
Right.
They're
I
still
mean, I
staying
think they're
afloat.
sitting at, yeah, they're top 10 in the power rankings right now.
So they're still floating at that top. So I'm not mad at what they're doing, but that may be the trade. That may be
So
the
that's the
trade,
one I would
but
like to see them explore.
okay. And how old is Giannis?
Ooh, that's a good
Maybe
question. Is he 31?
let me see. Yeah, that's what I'm like. He's 31. Yeah, 31.
Okay.
So he's still young, but his playing style, I think he'll start to decline in probably like maybe 4 years. But he takes great
Like,
care of his body. But I think if anything, he's going to rebound. He's going to play
he's gonna
defense.
re Yep.
He's going to get easy buckets, and hopefully at some point in time that jumper continues to get better. Where because that's what I would love to see for Giannis as he gets older. It's like, hey, this mid range, if I can pick and pop to this mid range and knock these down consistently, because if he stays athletic, that's going to be a tough guard. And he can pass. So he's another point guard that
And
you can
that's the thing
have.
too. Like I think about the high-low action that you could create with Giannis and Wemby. You know,
That's
you think
ridiculous. That's
about
unfair, bro. I ain't even.
you got Giannis in the dunker. Wemby sets a high ball screen for Dylan, catches it, drives middle. You, I, I mean,
That's
what do you
unfair,
decide
bro.
to do for at that point? What do you do?
And Dylan, I'm not sure if you got the catch the game last night with Spurs, but I watched some of the highlights and one, Dylan's already a big guard and he gets to the lane so easy, bro.
Oh my God.
Like he reminds me of like he has a game and I'm pretty sure he watched them, but like Shea, like Cade, he gets to that cup so easy, bro. And he
Great
looks
body
strong.
control.
He looks strong. His
Yes.
control, he's stronger than he
Great body
looks.
control.
And I'm like, oh, Dylan plays above the rim. Like,
And for him to be a lefty, he's so fluid going either direction.
bro, the game winner, right hand, layup, got a bump,
Like so fluid. He's
contested too.
I'm telling you, that roster's gonna be special, man.
They gotta get one. They gotta. He has to get healthy, man. I hope we're not seeing this. Is not gonna be a consistent thing with Wemby. I hope not. But
Me too.
his frame is filling out. You can tell he's gotten
Yep.
stronger. Um, so yeah, I just hope he continues to stay on track and get healthy. But ultimately, I just want to see him healthy in the playoffs. We can see that. I think we're in good shape there with them. So a couple more things, man. I wanted us to touch on, and everyone, make sure you all go check our last episode out. We talked about the NBA Cup coming up. A lot of good teams there.
Yep.
Um, but before we get to that, Chris, and we'll finish off like our prediction for the NBA Cup matches. We talked about it earlier, but NBA vets and how important they are in the league right now. Is there an NBA vet right now that's like, you know what, this is someone who is sticking out to me. This is like my favorite vet in the league right now.
Uh Honestly, quiet as kept. It's kind of been Grayson Allen.
Mm,
Like
yep,
he's been a
that's not
vet
bad.
who over the past maybe 2 or 3 seasons, I've really built an appreciation and an affinity for. And I think a large part of it is just I admire the way that he has rebranded himself
Yeah,
from the
I
time
can
he got
respect it.
into the league until now. I think when he first came into the league, he came into the league with a lot of controversy. He was doing a lot of crazy stuff over at Duke. He was tripping cats and hitting dudes in the nuts and, saying wild stuff. And then he got into the
The
league,
same in
and
the
I
league.
think
Everyone
that,
was saying the same thing.
yeah, and even those first couple of years in the league, I think were a little tumultuous. He was still trying to figure out how he could contribute to a team, what his role would be, still trying to
Mm,
find his footing. But since he's been in Phoenix, he has been one of the steady contributors that the organization has leaned on through the past pre couple of runs that they've had in the playoffs.
mm,
Um, he's someone who's steady, shoots above 40% from three. He
mm.
takes the right type of shots. Um, he contributes to that offense. It flows in the offense really well. So Grayson has been somebody who I've, you know, built an appreciation for over the past few years.
He's gonna be in the league for a long time.
Yeah,
He's one of
I
those
think
guys.
so.
He's gonna be there for a bit. No, I'm not mad at that, man. And then for me, Jeff Green, we talked before. Like, I
Yep.
just love that pairing of having Jeff Green and KD. I could just imagine the stories that they've been telling those young guys about them coming into the league, being in Seattle. Hopefully, we'll see a Seattle return to the league and with the expansion teams. But I know that is good for the locker room for you to have
Yeah.
Jeff Green, KD,
Yep.
because you got two different perspectives. So you get a superstar perspective and a player who's been a great pro consistently. As you see, he's still playing in the league, and so those are two mature guys who is not going to steer you in the wrong direction. And I hope that that Rocket squad is really paying attention and soaking up all the knowledge that Katie and Jeff Green can give them. So yeah, shout out to the vets, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to the vets in the league.
Quick hitter. So we got NBA Cup games. Let's talk today before we hit the semi games this weekend, which we'll give you all some good content because I'll be out in Vegas this weekend to catch the games. But tonight you got Heat and Magic. Excuse me, Heat and Magic. Then you got Knicks and Raptors at 7:30. Who you got winning those two games?
All right. I'm gonna go with I'm thinking Orlando. And I'm gonna still slide with
Okay.
Orlando. I know, unfortunately, they dealt with Franz going down. I
Mhm.
don't know how long he's going to be out. Did they give a diagnosis on his injury yet?
It was a high ankle
Have you seen
sprain, so it
anything?
wasn't. Yeah, so just a high ankle sprain.
Okay. But they got Paolo back,
Yep.
and
They
so
can never. They can never be on the tour at the
just be
same time.
fully healthy because they're another team
Mm-mm.
too that although they're young, they got a lot of talent and a good mix of bets. But I'm gonna keep
Mm.
riding with Orlando, man. I like what they've been doing over the past 8 to 10 games. Statistically, they've improved in a lot of areas. They're shooting the ball better. They're better. Their pace of play has been better. Defensively, they felt more connected. And then some of those young guys who typically just kind of play secondary, tertiary roles have been stepping up. Anthony Black has been looking really good.
Open.
So I'm gonna ride with Orlando in that matchup against Miami. Although Miami has been one of the revelations of this season, I wouldn't have expected them to be this good. I think it continues to speak to the coaching acumen that
Mm-hmm.
Eric Spoelstra has and his ability to be, agile when
Mm-hmm.
things aren't going their way or when, you're dealing with a ton of injuries. They brought in Norman Powell, who's been a huge asset for that team. But I'm gonna slide with Orlando.
Okay.
And then for the New York Knicks and Toronto matchup, I'm gonna go with Toronto.
Mm.
I'm
Okay.
gonna switch it up and I'm gonna go with Toronto. I think that right now they are a team that is so internally invested in one another, and they all carry kind of this chip on their shoulder where they
Mm.
come into every game believing that they can win and not only win the game, but they feel like they can win the fight too. And I
Yeah.
appreciate those kind of teams. The team that's going to take you to the deep end, the team that's going to grind it out, the teams that are going to figure out a
Mm.
way to win no matter what it comes down to. And I think Toronto has been one of those teams this season.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. So you got Orlando and Raptors. It's so funny, bro. I literally picked the opposite. I got Miami. I think Norman Powell.
Oh, dope.
I think Miami. I think they're going to cook. I think Norman Powell is going to be one of the leading scorers of this NBA Cup games. And I think Jalen Brunson. I think he has a coming out party, and he puts the Knicks back on the conversation of, hey, We're still in the East. I think they need to make a statement next to because they're just like right here right now. No one's really saying
Yeah.
much. It's just like they're not impressing nobody right now. So I think this is their opportunity with being on national TV throughout this entire weekend. I think this is where they make their statement. So
Mm,
cool. So we got to see how that plays out. Then we got two
that's
more
perfect.
tomorrow. We got Suns and Thunder, and then you got Spurs and Lakers. So you got one of those games.
So, I mean, obviously, I'm a ride with OKC. I'm not that
No.
contrarian.
Mm,
23 and 1, number one in defensive rating, number one in net rating, fifth in offensive rating. They are the best team in the league from a statistical and from just an eye test standpoint. So I'm gonna slide with OKC on that one. And then
yeah.
I'm actually gonna ride with LA.
Same. I'm with you. We same
You
with
know,
those.
I thought the Lakers, I mean, they've looked good over the past 10 games. They're sitting at third in the power rankings, 17 and
Mm,
6, sixth in offensive rating. And I think JJ Redick has really figured out how to create an offense that allows AR and Luka to be complementary of one another. Um, and they've ingratiated LeBron back in a way that's allowed him to kind of take his time and figure out how he's going to contribute to this new look rosters,
mm,
this new look LA roster.
mm.
And so, I'm gonna ride with LA and OKC for the NBA Cup final.
Yeah. JJ's actually he's done a hell of a job too. Which we both figured they would because they got Luca late into the season last year, midpoint.
Hmm.
And I knew I said if they get him for a full once they get him for a full season, I do think we'll see a different team.
Yeah.
Um, so I do think that the Lakers team is good. I just if you don't have OKC doing what they're doing right now, I may put Lakers at the top of the Western Conference, to be honest with you, with Denver. But OKC, I don't. I was gonna kind of lean on the side of the Suns because they're the team that I feel like has played them the toughest this year. But they don't. I don't know
Yeah.
if Book is going to play. Even if Book plays, he's just coming back. I don't see him playing lights out with just coming back from injury. So I'm still rocking
It's
with
a
the
lot to ask.
Thunder. I'm still rocking with Thunder for that. And then I do think Lakers win out. And yeah, then I think from there, bro, let's make a prediction once Sunday hits. We can do our final prediction because yeah, they'll play tomorrow, then we'll have the game Saturday, and then we need to pick a
Yep.
winner from that. So that'd be interesting to see, man.
I have
Cool.
appreciated it feels like this year though that the NBA Cup has been the most competitive that it's been
Mm,
since they've introduced this. And it feels like guys have maybe not just guys, but also fans. Maybe we're all collectively taking a
mm.
turn and taking the NBA Cup a little more serious.
Because now at this point it's consistent, and I think you have to be able to give people, especially us fans, you got to give us the consistent to follow. Like I think some of the issues with the college football playoffs is you keep trying to change
Yes.
so much
Yep.
stuff, and you don't have this consistency of what people can just watch and tune in, engage, critique, whatever. And so I do think they got to keep this NBA Cup going because let people get to see this consistently. When you have something new and then you hear people say, "Oh, we don't like it," and you change it, they're not gonna like the next thing. It's just human
Right.
nature. People are reluctant to change, bro. It is
That's a good point.
that is just what the world is, man. But I do think as long as they continue to make this couple big things, the NBA coverage has been incredible this year with
Yeah, they've done a
NBC.
great job marketing it. Yep.
Overall, like I haven't heard no bad talk about the league this year, bro. Like
I would agree.
none.
The viewership is up. I think it's up like 30, 40%. So
No.
yeah, I think we all collectively been enjoying the season.
Yeah. So this is a good. This is what I mean by you can critique players, you can do all of that, and still have good topics and things to talk about. We don't got to bash players
Yes.
or look for hot takes because LeBron has been playing, so we haven't been talking about LeBron. So that still lets me know we can move forward without bashing LeBron and speaking highly of other guys that are coming to league. But it's also, and we'll close on this. This lets me know that how lazy and how much hatred these people have for LeBron because we would rather choose to speak so bad about LeBron and make that the topic versus what we're doing now. We're just speaking about all these other good talents as a game should be talked about. But
That's
instead,
how it should be.
we chose to hate on LeBron and just talk bad about him. But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
But no, man, I'm excited to catch these games this week. So we'll definitely get some content out. We'll post it for the people. But again, we appreciate you all for watching Fans Perspective. Our episode 7 will be out here shortly. But again, we appreciate y'all. You have a good rest of your week.
Love you guys. Appreciate it.